everyone, welcome back to the Hub. I'm so glad to be doing the reviews again. Last couple of videos on the channel were a little bit more branched out, where we talked about the Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon scandal that's been going on. Go ahead and feel free to check it out right up here, or feel free to check out the Boîte Noire Radio podcast collab, where we went a little bit deeper into the Quiet on Set conversation. Also, check out the latest upload on the channel, where I prepared a neat little something for you guys. It's a little something special to commemorate our very first 100 subscribers on the channel. It's really fun. Go ahead and check it out. But today, I'm bringing you something bigger. Much bigger. Today, we are going to be reviewing Godzilla x Kong New Empire / www / Creep Thoughts. Check it out. The latest installment in the little cinematic universe that could.
Tell me you don't think about pulling a load someday.
Little.
Because for some inexplicable reason, these movies still exist. And they're still like a big hit. Well, most of the time. And I gotta give credit where credit is due. Because when it comes to the current state of cinematic universes,
Why?
the Monsterverse really seems to be the last man standing. I think because of just how simple they are. No multiverses, altered realities, time travel, or Brie Larson. Hey everyone, this is Future Robert, here to tell you that past Robert is an idiot, because Brie Larson is actually part of the Monsterverse. Anyway, carry on. These movies serve one purpose. Big monster punch big monster, go kaboom boom. And as far as my two remaining brain cells are concerned, that's good enough. But without further ado, go ahead and grab your Stormbreaker, put on that Hulkbuster armor, and let's topple the new empire. So we kick off the movie with our main character, Kong, because make no mistake, this is Kong's movie. So he's being chased by a pack of monsters in Hollow Earth several years after the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. I think. I don't know, because I didn't actually watch Godzilla vs. Kong. Well, I did, but I just skipped straight to the fight scenes and wrapped it up in a nice little 15 minutes. Of course, Kong, being the Giga Chad that he is, takes out the monsters with a series of booby traps that he has set up all over his camp, I Am Legend style, which is not something I knew he could do. So he takes out the monsters and goes full Juggernaut, which brings me to one of my favorite aspects of the movie, which is the violence. This movie is pretty savage for a PG-13. Like, the monsters are just like torn in half or impaled by logs. I mean, this movie gets like pretty vicious at times, which I love, because I can't imagine a movie about monsters that is fun when you don't show any of the violence. After dismembering his enemies and eating their flesh, our hero returns home, where it's very apparent that things are not okay, bro. Despite the last 90 years of adaptations where Kong has been alone like literally every time, he starts feeling lonely in his old age. Guess he should have tied the knot back in 2005. Not only that, but his pain reaches to the surface level, quite literally. Just like your average British person, Kong's teeth are decaying. And unlike the British, Kong actually goes to the dentist. So Kong goes up to the surface world, where he gets his tooth pulled out by the terror from down under, Trapper. Now, quick side note, I didn't actually ever retain any of the names of the characters, and I really didn't care to look it up. So I made up little nicknames that you'll see eventually, so we're all on the same page. However, Trapper's name I did learn, because he's the only one that matters. And Trapper is a kaiju vet, Hollow Earth expert, biologist, engineer, pilot, who can and will do anything the plot demands. However, Kong's crippling depression and dental issues are not the only threat in the movie. Weird energy spikes seem to be coming in from Hollow Earth and disrupting Science Lady's entire operation, as well as giving Iwi Girl a quick trip to the astral dimension. And just like her BFF Kong, Iwi Girl also feels out of place, like she doesn't belong. Now, in case you didn't know, in the previous movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, Science Lady actually adopted Iwi Girl and took her from Skull Island to the mainland. Because as we all know, there's no better idea than to bring indigenous tribes in contact with modern civilization. Anyway, Iwi Girl, Science Lady, Trappa, Alex Jones, Disposable Pilot, and Kong all head down to Hollow Earth so they can investigate these weird energy surges. What? What do you mean I've been talking about Kong this entire time? Oh, Godzilla is in this movie! For those of you wondering why I haven't talked about Godzilla, it's because neither does the movie. He just shows up for a couple of minutes every now and then, and we go, yep, that sure is Godzilla, all right. He sure does exist. And then he goes to sleep. Literally. So Kong heads out to the jungle where he stumbles upon WB's latest merchandising opportunity, Baby Kong, or Suko. Suko and his gang of cronies decide to teach Kong a lesson about being a big, stupid meanie face. Science Lady and the Suicide Squad find their research lab destroyed, with everyone dead. And this, of course, upsets Science Lady greatly. She brings up the fact that these people had families, lives, and they were just trying to do their job. Anyway, our pilot gets eaten alive by a goddamn tree, and nobody gives a shit. Everyone just collectively moves on. So they find some ancient ruins where they discover that people have actually been in Hollow Earth before. And not just that, but they actually discover North America. They discover that humans are there right now. That's right. The Iwi people, who had been presumed dead for dozens of years, have just been in Hollow Earth this entire time. I guess the Iwi girl never got the memo, or they just forgot about her. Also, in a shocking twist, it was actually the Iwi people who had been sending these distress signals that were actually meant for the Iwi girl. Because as it turns out, there's a prophecy. Because of fucking course, there's a prophecy. And the Iwi girl is our Neo.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
She is the only one who can stop the almighty Scar. No, not the lion, the monkey. The prophecy states that millions of years ago, or something, Godzilla and Scar were locked in a battle for millennia that shook the earth to its very core. And Godzilla, who I just remembered is in the movie, barely escaped with his life, but did manage to trap Scar down in Hollow Earth, where Scar has been building an army this entire time to take on Godzilla and Earth once again. In the meantime, Kong has been hanging out with his new plushie toy, where he tries to get him killed several times before Suko takes Kong to Scar's prison camp. And this is the point where the movie really kicks into high gear, and we meet Scar himself, the big bad, who is actually a pretty cool villain. His design is very different from all the other monkeys, including Kong. He has like this red fur, which I don't know if it's paint or blood, but either way, it looks menacing as hell. He also has like these really long and scrawny arms, which naturally made me think that Kong was just gonna wipe his ass with this guy. But he is a tank. He may be skinny, but this boy packin'. He's super agile and fast and puts out a pretty mean punch. But Kong being Kong, he manages to turn the tides and makes quick work out of Scar. And just like me trying to kill Queen Sigrun for the 287th time, Scar is unwilling to accept defeat and instead shoots his ice laser until something happens. So Kong runs away, pretty injured, and heads back to home base, where our favorite Ozai pulls out the mother of all ex machinas. This man, who an hour ago was just a vet who pulled a tooth, is now flying a machine that is carrying a 1,000-ton super mech arm, which of course they already have. And this is what did it for me. This is where I mentally checked out of the movie and decided to just uncanny valley 1,000-yard stare at the theater screen. I mean, you could not write a more contrived scene if you were paid. So Kong injures his right arm, right? And they just happen to have this super Iron Man fist for his right arm? Like, what if he injured his leg? What if he lost his arm? Like, this makes no sense. And I say I checked out at this point because all throughout the movie, we get a lot of kaiju fights. And by a lot, I mean we get a lot of individual fights with a lot of different kaiju. Now this sounds pretty good, right? The fights in the movie, at least up until the last couple and the final fight, which I will talk about later, just suck. There is so much buildup for these fights, and just like me, they end in a flat 2 minutes. Anytime things are getting exciting on screen, the writers just shut the door on the action. They do the roar, they throw a punch, and then our hero kills the enemy. Off screen. They don't even show you when they're killed. And by far, the worst case is there are actually 2 fights that are exactly the same. When Zuko tries to get Kong to go to Belize, a massive scaly sea serpent just pops up and tries to kill Kong. And it's looking damn good. This thing is lightning fast, and they're fighting on his turf, the water. So, I don't know, maybe Godzilla's gonna die, maybe Kong is gonna die, maybe he's gonna get really injured. He just yeets the head of that snake, and that's it. The fight is over. And then we get another fight with another scaly sea serpent, only this time it's Godzilla. And if you want to know how that fight turned out, just go ahead and rewind 10 seconds and replace Kong with Godzilla. I'm not joking. I actually flung my hands in the air in disappointment when I saw that second fight. And just like a dying star, the movie almost collapses within itself. And just when I thought all hope was lost, we get the final fight. Oh boy, that final fight makes everything worth it. Everybody shows up for the final fight. Kong, Godzilla, Scar, the ice monster, and even our homie Zuko pops up to help. So the day is saved, and as part of the celebratory lap, Godzilla pumps so much radiation into the atmosphere that Earth becomes uninhabitable. So humanity has to resort to moving to Hollow Earth, where the giant apes can be the protectors of mankind once again. And Godzilla, having defeated his last enemy, finally rests and watches the sunrise in a grateful universe. To kick off the character dive, my favorite character was Kong. Not because he's the best, just because he's the one you see of the most. In 2014, with the OG Godzilla came out, they primarily focused on the human characters, with little snippets of the monsters here and there. In this one, they do the opposite. They focus primarily on the monsters, with little snippets of the people helping out along the way. Which, if you ask me, is the better way to do a kaiju movie. The best way is just ditch the humans. Who cares?
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
I don't think I'm alone in saying that I would rather watch a movie where it's just monsters beating each other off. I mean, where the monsters just get together and beat off. Damn it. I mean, there's no humans. It's just monsters beating off.
While Patchy pulls himself together, let's see how SpongeBob's party is shaping up.
Godzilla, as I had mentioned before, is not really in the movie a whole lot, which really sucks because I'm a big Godzilla fan. Who isn't? This movie should have really been called Kong the New Empire, featuring Godzilla. I could make the case that you could remove Godzilla from the entire movie and it wouldn't change the outcome. Scar has been building this army for millennia. Kong goes on a journey by himself for himself. The only moment in which Godzilla and Kong actually interact is in the final fight. And Kong literally has to drag Godzilla out into the fight. I would have killed to see Godzilla in even a quarter of the movie, because he's half the reason to even go see it. Or just make Godzilla the main character featuring Kong. That would have been awesome! Because it's pretty fucking hard to screw up Godzilla. Scar is also a pretty great villain. He has a really menacing roar that just shakes you to your core, and his design is a great contrast to Kong. It's like that scenario you would make up with your friends in your mind about who would win in a fight between The Rock or Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee. The human characters, who, just like in any other movie that is about monsters, are okay. They're pretty alright. If I were to suggest watching this movie, I would suggest buy your ticket and just show up an hour late for the final fight. I promise it'll be worth the exact same as watching the entire movie. But I gotta wrap this up. Godzilla x Kong is a typical summer blockbuster, pretty fun for what it is, but doesn't have a whole lot of substance. The action is pretty absent, the humor is hit or miss, and the characters are easily forgettable. But if you like watching big monsters punch each other for a long period of time, then this is the movie for you. Well, some of it is. With that, I think it is time for the rating. Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire is a 5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and drop a monstrous like, as well as a comment down below about what movies or topics you'd like to see here on the channel. And I'm currently working on getting gaming content up and running, so make sure to tune in on social media so you're updated a little bit more on the release of gaming. We have TikTok, Instagram, X, and MySpace. Also, be sure to check out my most recent collaboration with Boîte Noire Radio on his podcast. We had a great time where we went a little bit further into the Dan Schneider Nickelodeon scandal. I'll go ahead and link it down below. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. I would suggest